Alrighty, welcome everyone to NoDQ&A video right here on NoDQ.com, as well as the YouTube channel and NoDQ&A videos affiliate, ringsidenews.com. Got your questions regarding Money in the Bank, which is this coming Sunday, live on the WWE Network. I will be doing live results coverage on NoDQ.com. Stay tuned for that. Let's get started today with your first question from Mr. Johnson. What did you think of the Shield reunion on Raw and the possibility of Ambrose cashing in on Rollins or Reigns at Money in the Bank? I expected WWE to acknowledge the idea that Dean Ambrose could possibly win Money in the Bank and then cash it in on Rollins or Ambrose. But after watching that segment, the fact that Ambrose looked so strong, which is unusual with Dean Ambrose. He not only got to lay out the WWE Champion with dirty deeds, but also later on the show, he beat Chris Jericho. Ambrose came off looking really strong on this show, and that makes me wonder now if he's actually going to win at Money in the Bank. I will tell you this, I thought the Shield segment was well done. WWE did a lot of recapping, showing a lot of footage from the Shield's history to lead up to that segment, and I thought it was well executed. And I have to tell you, I'm looking forward to a Shield triple threat match after watching Raw. Does that mean it will happen? I'm not so sure about that, because the way WWE usually does things is that when a person looks really strong on the go-home show, they tend to not win at the pay-per-view. We'll see. I will discuss this more with Jeff Meacham when we do our predictions for Money in the Bank. Stay tuned for that. Next question here comes from British Heel Allen. Do you think Ambrose is going to win WWE Money in the Bank? I feel like WWE has teased Ambrose's title win too much now. Like I said, I'm not so sure about it happening at this point. Do I think it makes sense? Absolutely. Do I think Ambrose cashing it in and leading up to a Shield triple threat match that way would make logical sense? Definitely. I think that that would be a great way to get Ambrose in the WWE title picture and build up to an actual Shield triple threat. But I have my serious doubts now that that will happen, just knowing how WWE operates with their booking and these go-home shows. This one comes from NoDQ&A fan. Hey Aaron, even though AJ signed the contract without the club, do you think the club will get involved in some fashion? Heels lie. That's what they do. It's quite possible that the club will get involved on Sunday against John Cena and attack him and help AJ win. There's also the possibility that somebody who's not yet officially with the club comes out and helps AJ win, like a Finn Balor. That's a possibility. Or maybe AJ will flat out beat John Cena clean and shock the world. I will also be discussing this in more detail with Jeff Meacham when we do our predictions. It's very interesting. I thought that that segment was really well done. I dreaded the idea of a contract signing when it was first announced, but that was one of the better contract signings that WWE has ever done. I liked the twist of having two contracts and John Cena telling AJ to pick one. I also liked AJ getting angry and signing the contract for the one-on-one match. It definitely adds intrigue to Sunday. I just thought the whole segment was really well done. I thought both Cena and AJ did really good jobs. I liked how Cena brought up AJ's past in PWG, which Cena actually name-dropped, as well as Ring of Honor. No TNA mention, of course, but that was pretty cool. I thought the segment was really well done, and I think that there are a lot of possibilities for Sunday, and it's good to not know exactly what's going to happen. Got this one here from Juan Carlos, Apple. Hey Aaron, do you think with WWE Network doing a Goldberg's collection, it's imminent his in-ring return? Based off of history, one would think that there's a decent possibility that Goldberg will have one more match in WWE. Goldberg has talked about the idea of having his son be able to see him do a match in person. And we've seen with previous guys that have done the video game deal, they've gone on to work with WWE further, whether it's going into the Hall of Fame or having one more match. And I think Goldberg going into the Hall of Fame is a solid possibility now. And him having one more match is a solid possibility. Time will tell, but I think the odds are better than they've been in a very long time. This one comes from Dylan Folk. With Goldberg possibly returning, could you see him and Brock co-main eventing SummerSlam, then do Brock vs. Orton at WrestleMania? I think it's more likely the opposite. I think if Goldberg comes back for one more match, it'll be saved for WrestleMania. The idea of having Goldberg go into the Hall of Fame and then have one more match, similar to Sting, what Sting did 2 years ago, or excuse me, last year, but when WrestleMania 33 rolls around, it'll be 2 years. I could see that happening, and I think that makes more sense for WrestleMania to have Goldberg have his comeback, his final match be at the biggest show of the year. That seems to be the best way to utilize Goldberg rather than bring him back for SummerSlam. Just my take on it. This one comes from @VinceFearsNoDQ. Best username ever. Why is Goldberg considered an all-time great? After the bogus streak was over, he was a non-factor, extremely overrated. Goldberg made a connection with people, and not everyone can do that, no matter how good they are in the ring. Some people just do not connect with the audience. Goldberg was able to do that. Say what you will about the guy, but he went out there and he got the people on their feet, and he got some of the biggest pops in wrestling history. Yes, part of it was due to the way he was booked, but he had the charisma and the presence to get the fans invested in his character. Goldberg played his role really well. As far as being a tough guy goes, Goldberg could play that part as good as anybody, if not better than anybody. Goldberg went out there and he played the role extremely well. And that's why he succeeded. He went out there and kicked ass, and the people enjoyed it. He could go out there, wrestle for 2 minutes, and the fans were satisfied. Some people can go out there and wrestle for 30 minutes, and nobody really cares. So, Goldberg made a difference with people. Whether you like the guy or not, he did huge business for WCW, and people still remember the guy after all these years, despite WWE not acknowledging Goldberg much over the years. People still chant his name and people still talk about him. This one comes from RIP Mitch @_never_shuts_up. Would you say that Chris Jericho was the most wasted talent for WCW during the Monday Night Wars? I would say so. Many would argue either Jericho or Chris Benoit as the most wasted talents, but I think Jericho was really the guy that could have been a huge difference maker for WCW. He was on his way to being a major star. In 1998, when he turned heel and did the whole Monday Night Jericho routine, he was really starting to gain momentum, and then he just hit the glass ceiling and the rug was pulled from under him. And WCW just kept focusing on Randy Savage and Roddy Piper and Hulk Hogan instead of building the company around the future and building the company around guys like Chris Jericho. And when Jericho left for WWE, that was a real sign that things were going downhill for WCW, because one of the most promising stars packed his bags and went elsewhere. This one comes from David Anderson. Did you like the Undertaker American Badass gimmick? I personally was not a fan of it. I thought it was good. I thought it was a nice change of pace. The Undertaker, what kept his character fresh over the years was the fact that it evolved. The Undertaker character was never exactly the same over the years. He gradually changed his character, and the American Badass was more of a dramatic change because he was gone from injury and all of a sudden he was this different character than what he was before. But it was the Attitude Era and it worked for the time period. Undertaker being more of a realistic character during the Attitude Era made sense. And I think that he did a really good job with it. Nothing compares to, of course, the Dead Man gimmick. I mean, that's what Undertaker will be best remembered for, but at the time, it was nice to change things up a bit. This one comes from Tim White. Undertaker as a heel in 2001. Your thoughts on the run and the turn itself? I thought it got heat and freshened him up. I will say that he was better as a heel doing that American Badass gimmick than as a babyface. With the babyface thing, it got a little old after a while. And again, him turning heel changed things up and kept his character fresh. And I really enjoyed the 2002 heel run. Undertaker feuding with Flair was great. I loved the segment where Undertaker beat up Rick's son David in the locker room. That was tremendous. And Undertaker feuding with Austin, and when the fans would chant what an Undertaker, he said, chant what if you sleep with your own sister. I mean, Undertaker just did such a great job on the mic with that character and just being a tough guy prick. Undertaker played that role really well. This one comes from Charlie Wong. Hey Aaron, what is your first reaction to Matt Hardy's tweet during the wake of the Orlando club shooting? I think that maybe he would have been better off having two separate tweets, one with his condolences and the other with promoting the Slammiversary match. I could see how some people might see it as tacky and a cheap ploy for publicity to have it all in one tweet, but at the same time, I get what he's saying. I mean, wrestling is a form of escapism for people on a daily basis, regardless of what's going on in the world. People watch wrestling and they watch entertainment as a way of escaping, whether they have problems in their personal lives or there's something on the news that's bothering them. People look to escape through entertainment. I totally get what Matt Hardy is saying, and people want to be able to have a method of getting away from some of the negativity. I just think it would have been better off as two separate tweets. But beyond that, didn't really bother me what he said on Twitter. This one comes from Simon Lee. Hey Aaron, was 2011 the right year for Kane to wear the mask back? And did it help his career from your perspective? Absolutely. Kane was really getting stale with that gimmick without the mask, and by having the mask return, it gave his character some longevity. And then, of course, the stuff with Daniel Bryan was, once again, changing things up. You know, going back to earlier with The Undertaker. With Kane, by him wearing the mask again, being a heel for a while, and then turning face and doing the tag team stuff with Daniel Bryan, it allowed Kane's character to have some depth and have some layers. I thought it was good for the time to change things up. This one comes from Mr. Yuck. How long do you think Bobby Roode will be in NXT? Will he even get to the main roster? Why debut him at a live event instead of on TV? Bobby Roode was advertised for the UK tour, so the plan all along was for him to be part of it, and I guess WWE decided not to have him participate at the last NXT takeover, and they just decided to go with having him do his in-ring debut at the live events. I'm not really that bothered by it. I think it's fine. It's not that much of an issue. Regarding how long he'll be in NXT, that's an interesting question. He's not that young. He is getting close to 40, and I think the sooner he gets on the main roster, the better for him. You know, let him make the big bucks on the main roster while he's still relatively young. I could see him being in NXT for maybe 6 months. I think having him there longer than that is not really good for him. He needs to be able to make the big money, being on Raw and SmackDown, Raw or SmackDown, and being on the WWE main pay-per-views. So we'll see what happens. I would be surprised if he's there longer than 6 months, and he absolutely should be on the main roster sooner than later, in my opinion. That'll do it for this edition of No DQ&A video. Once again, check out NoDQ.com this Sunday. I will be doing live pay-per-view coverage on NoDQ.com. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already, youtube.com/NoDQCAW or Aaron Rift NoDQ. And check out my personal YouTube channel, youtube.com/Aaron Rift. And I will see you guys next time. Stay tuned for WWE Money in the Bank predictions.